Now by Senior Nhlanhla Mnguni from the Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So we've seen lots of reaction to this bill, some for, some against. What's your position on it?
Look, we are cautiously in support of the bill. We commend the Health Minister for not caving into pressure from predominantly the multinationals who have sort of tried to use the influence to dictate policy to government and try government to deviate away from the World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. So on a large scale, we are in support of the amendments.
And if you look at the changes, and I think people are not really looking at the changes that are recommended, some of it includes a zero-tolerance policy on indoor smoking in public places. So they're going to remove designated smoking areas, a ban on outdoor smoking in certain public spaces, and the removal of all signage on cigarette packaging aside from the brand name. And then also, you cannot display cigarettes openly in stores. I mean, if people want to smoke, they can still go to a store and say, give me a pack of this.
Indeed, indeed. Look, that presents a number of difficulties, particularly in respect of the informal trade. It would be difficult, for instance, for a hawker to not display cigarettes because they predominantly have a table where all their products are there for display. So that's one of the difficulties, and I'm not certain how the Health Ministry intends enforcing that. But in respect of plain packaging, we are, as the Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association, which represents South African manufacturers, in support of it, because what it then does is that it levels the playing field. The tobacco industry has, for a large period, been dominated by foreign multinationals. They have had the advantage of having had the advertising before legislation allowing advertising of tobacco products was repealed. They had that benefit. So they have had the opportunity of, in essence, building brands where you have instances such as the Camel Man, which have then conditioned consumers to sort of want to buy their products. If you then have plain packaging, what that then does is that it takes the consumer away from being brand conscious. And we say that in terms of our members, it will lead to transformation of the tobacco industry in that now consumers will not be swayed. I mean, there's also the issue of shelf spacing, which the multinationals control, which is the point of sale display, where they in essence dictate to retailers which brands should take preference over which brands. So now you'll have an instance where there's a level playing field for all role players in the tobacco industry to compete fairly.
I mean, people will become accustomed to a brand regardless of whether there's signage on it or not. They're still going to go and ask for a particular brand. I have protein shake that I'll stick to regardless of whether I see the label on it. So why then the fuss from these companies? Do they really think they're going to lose that much money if people don't see the product on the shelves?
It goes to that, but it goes even deeper in that it's been done by them. What they do is they lobby government through strategic sort of tactics such as the instilling fear and sort of overinflating or overemphasizing the illicit tobacco trade. They've done it in Australia, they've done it in the United Kingdom, in New Zealand and so forth, because ultimately plain packaging will hit them in the pockets. Like I said, consumers will no longer be brand conscious and will move on to other products, especially in this economic time where a pack of cigarettes from these multinational costs in the region of 45 Rand, whereas the local products costs in the region of just over 20 Rand. I mean, it's a no-brainer for the consumer at this stage where no one is really going to care anymore what brand you're smoking, and the sort of brand is taken away.
If you look at the instance where they're trying to have a zero-tolerance policy on all indoor smoking, regardless of it being sectioned off, that was something that many people who didn't smoke wanted regardless, because smoke would always come through, doors would be open in restaurants, and you would get that disgusting smoke smell. You can tell I'm against smoking. So in the interest of the majority of people at a venue, that would of course work in the favor of those who don't smoke.
Of course. As I said, as an organization, we're in support of such amendments to legislation. Unfortunately, the world is moving towards further compliance with the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. And it has been proven that well, tobacco products and their emissions obviously pose a threat to people's health or danger to people's health. And in line with our constitution, you have to give people the right to choose whether they want to be in an environment of that nature or not.
And does the same apply in night spots, for example, where you have some night spots that say it's smoking only? Will that be allowed with the current?
No. In terms of the bill, according to my understanding, that will not be allowed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So going forward, if government decides to go ahead with this, given all of the feedback it's received, what's the ultimate benefit to society?
Look, I mean, ultimately, the benefit to society is that people are now in a better position to sort of choose what environments they can associate in, and it's in essence, if you read the preamble of this bill, it states that its goal is to, in essence, align itself with the Constitution, ensuring that democratically people aren't sort of forced into environments where they are forced to sort of inhale secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.